Hi, it's Bee with Crafting Daily Dose, and today I have a fun alternative for the September 2022 paper pumpkin called Spooky Treats. Now this is a kit that creates cute Halloween treat boxes, and in this alternative we're still using them as treat boxes, but we've stacked them together to make a treat tower, and we've decorated them in a different way. Now they already have finger notches, so you can just go ahead and pull up the drawers as they are, but I'm also going to show you how to add these ribbon pulls just to make it a little bit more stepped up. In addition to whatever treats you want to put in, we're also going to add another surprise. This is a fun pop-up element that springs out whenever the box is opened, and it's something that you can add to any of the boxes whether or not you make a tower. Now don't be scared of this project because we're going to take it step by step. Here are the pieces that I'm going to be using for the treat tower. Now I've chosen to use 3 boxes for mine, but you can have as many as you'd like and in whatever combination. I'm going to be using 2 of the basic black boxes and 1 of the pumpkin pie, and then 2 of the fresh freesia sleeves, and then 1 of the plaid. I'm also using some die cuts from the kit, so I'm using this round sentiment label, the spider, and then this strip of crushed curry. Then I'm bringing in some extra pieces as well. This is a piece of window sheet that is 3/4 of an inch across by 2.5 inches in height, scored at 1 inch along the long side. This is going to be the pop-up mechanism for our spider. These 3 round pieces are hole reinforcers. They come from the Tailor-Made Tags die set, and you can see that this one die creates 4 of them all in one go. They're going to make things more tidy and also make the ribbon pull stronger, but it's also okay if you don't have them. And then for those ribbon pulls, I'm using the glittered organdy ribbon. Now I have the white version, which is what's current in the catalog, but I'm going to be coloring this in to better match our project. I'm going to need a total of 21 inches, 3 pieces that are each 7 inches long. I'll be using the dark basic black blends marker, but if you don't have this, check your desk drawers and see if you have another type of black permanent marker that will work too. The ink that I'll be using is Orchid Oasis, and the mini version of this is what comes in the kit. And I'll also be adding in some Memento Tuxedo black ink for the spiders just to give a little bit more contrast. And now we're ready to get started. We'll begin by stamping up the sentiments, and I've got my silicone craft sheet underneath for a little bit of extra cushion. Next, I'll stamp up one of the box sleeves. There are these 4 score lines here, so let me just fold them real quick so I can show you. This last short section is going to wrap around and attach to the other piece. And I want my seam to be along the bottom of the box, which means that this area here is going to be the top of the box, and then these 2 areas are the sides. This is the bottom that's going to get attached to something else and it won't be seen. So I'm just going to concentrate on stamping this area here. Let me reverse my fold so that it will lie a little bit flatter. I'll be stamping up some webs using Orchid Oasis ink. The center part is going to be covered up by the sentiment, so I don't have to do too much there. And now for the spiders in Memento Tuxedo black ink. Now when I go to stamp up the second piece, I really only have to do the side pieces because the top is going to be adhered to the middle drawer and the bottom is not really going to be seen. The ribbon has these really gorgeous iridescent glitter pieces that are embedded in it. We're going to be coloring on the opposite side though, so find the side that is smoother to the touch, and we're going to be coloring on that side just because it's easier on the marker tip. It's less likely to fray. The other thing that I'm going to do to protect my marker is I'm going to be coloring with the side of the nib and not the very tip. So to do this, I'm just going to take my time, really let that ink have a chance to soak through both sides. And I'll do this across all 21 inches. Now you can do this on your grid paper or scrap paper. If you're using a silicone craft mat like I am, you can clean it off afterwards with rubbing alcohol. After I colored the ribbon, I cut it into 3 separate pieces that are each about 7 inches in length. And now I'm going to take each piece, fold it over in half. I put the rough side on the outside so I can see more of that pretty glitter. And I'm going to wrap the ends around my finger and then use that to tie a knot. And I'm going to try to make this piece here, this loop, about 1 inch or so in length. So each one of these blocks is 1/4 of an inch, so I want to make it about 4 blocks long. And that's about right, so I can go ahead and tighten this knot. Now, this leaves me with a pretty long tail that I can trim off later, but it's really hard to work with a piece that's much shorter than this. So that's why we started out with more than what we need. I'll go ahead and do the other 2 as well. And now the ribbon pulls for our drawers are ready. Now I'm going to quickly assemble the box sleeves. I'll demonstrate one, but they're all done the same way. If you need a more detailed look at this, I have a separate video on the basic box assembly, and that link is in the description box below. I'm going to fold along all the score lines and reinforce them with my bone folder. I'll put tear and tape along the edge of the gluing tab on the top colored surface. And then I'll put another piece of tear and tape on the white underside of the bottom piece. I'll fold this down flat and bring those 2 ends together. And I'll finish assembling the other 2 sleeves in the same way. Now for the box itself. This is going to be a basic box that's just going to hold your treat and does not have a pop-up surprise. Remember, if you need a closer look at this, there's a separate video that's linked down below. Once your box has been assembled, decide which side you want to put the ribbon pull on. I'm just going to do this side. They're really both the same, so it doesn't matter. I'm going to use my Take Your Pick tool to create a hole in order to thread the ribbon through. Now, if you don't have one of those hole reinforcers, you might want to pierce your hole from the outside in because that's going to look a little bit neater, but it's going to be trickier to thread the ribbon. If you do have the hole reinforcer, it's better to pierce your hole from the inside going out because you can cover up any mess with that piece. So I'm going to go about halfway vertically, and I'm going to center it over this notch. So my hole is going to be right about here. I've got a little piece of styrofoam here just for some support, and I will use the pointy end of my Take Your Pick tool, find my spots, and then go ahead and pierce it. I'll push it in to make that hole a little bit wider so you can see what that looks like. And now you can see what I mean. It's a little bit messy on this end. It's fine because we're going to cover it up, but if you don't have something to cover it up, you might like this look better because whichever side you start on, it's going to look a little bit neater. So I'm actually going to push this in further to make that hole even bigger. I've got that blends marker that I used to color the ribbon, and I'm just going to touch it around the edge of that hole there, just to cover up the white core of this paper that was now showing. I'll put some glue on the back of my little piece here. I'm centering it over the hole, and I'm going to give that a chance to set up well. Once I know the glue has set up, I'm going to very carefully insert the ribbon. Now I'm using the stylus from the scoring board, but remember there's also a stylus tip for the Take Your Pick tool as well. You could also use the tip of a black ballpoint pen. It doesn't matter if the ink from the pen gets onto the ribbon since it's already colored black anyway. Once you've pushed a little bit through, then you can use your fingers to pull the rest on out. Now any box that you want to add a pop-up surprise to is going to start out basically the same way, except we're not going to tuck in that last flap. So this long flap here is still open. I'm still going to go ahead and choose which side I want to pierce my hole and do the ribbon just like before, but I'm leaving that flap to hang out for just a little while longer. So after I've created the hole and inserted the ribbon, this is what the box looks like, and I still haven't tucked this piece in yet. I'm going to take my piece of window sheet and fold it along that score line. I'm not going to use my bone folder this time because I don't want it to be totally squashed down. I want it to still retain that spring because that's what's going to make the spider pop up. And then here is the spider. So it's going to be attached to the longer side. The shorter side is going to attach to the base of the box. So I just want to hold this up and make sure that when I put my spider in, I put it high enough so that I can actually see it above the edge of the box. For me, that means I'm going to be putting some glue dots on the bottom part of its body. I'm going to go ahead and cut off this little piece of webbing because it's a little bit too skinny for the glue dots, and I don't want it to not be attached to anything because it might get bunched up and cause problems. So once again, just checking that my placement is high enough that I can see the spider. Now I'm going to put tear and tape along the base. I'm just burnishing it to make sure that I have a good seal. going to sort of tuck it under there. And then I will put this up against the edge of the box, kind of holding this end up until I'm ready to get it set down. And I want to make sure that my spider is not going to bump up against the side. Okay, once I'm happy with the placements, I will go ahead and burnish this down. And now I'm going to hold up the end of my ribbon, and I will go ahead and tuck in that last flap. Kind of have to maneuver the ribbon out of the way. And there you go. So when it's inside of the sleeve, the spider is going to get pulled back like this. And then when the box is pulled out, the spider is going to spring up. Now I can trim off this excess here. Now, if you have already made up your boxes and you want to go back and add a pop-up surprise, you can still do that. You can either lift that flap back up so that you can adhere down the window sheet, or if you want to make it easy for yourself, you can put the window sheet on top. You are going to see some of the adhesive, but if it's covered with candy, no one's going to really notice. So you definitely have the option to add it in after the fact. Now I have all the boxes in the sleeves. I'm going to go ahead and adhere them to one another. You can use the tear and tape, but I'm going to go ahead and use glue here. It's easier to stack these when the boxes are in the sleeves. If you try to glue just the sleeves by themselves, it's a little bit harder to line up. I'm using my fingers to push up against the edges so that I know that they're straight. Now we just have to finish decorating the top. Now I want this piece to be here, but it's not quite long enough to fit all the way across. So I'm going to cheat a little bit and cut it in half. Then I'll glue each side separately with a little gap in between. And I'll add some dimensionals to that last piece. There's our finished project. We have this really cute tower that you can fill with all of your favorite treats. And there might be a little trick there too. Now, to reset this, you would simply push this back as you close the box, and now it's ready for the next unsuspecting victim. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you've enjoyed this dose of creativity. If you get a chance to try out the project, I would love to see it, so share it in my Facebook group or tag me if you're sharing elsewhere. If you're interested in Paper Pumpkin but don't yet have a demonstrator, you can find the subscription link as well as all of my other links in the description box below. I hope to craft with you again next time, and until then, have a great day.